ChatGPT in their last round, public numbers here, was valued at some 86 billion. Yeah, we had, just seen, I think a couple of weeks ago, Elon Musk with his XAI valued at 18 billion just 12 months after its founding. There was a huge round earlier this year with Anthropic, and so on and so on. McKinsey predicts that generative AI alone will lead to annual productivity gains of some 4 trillion US dollars. To put this number into perspective, this is as much as the entire GDP of Germany. Now, applying what you said earlier, your investment methodology, your deep understanding of tech, your investment experience, if you apply it to the generative AI space, what is your view on these large language models and their evaluations? Will these horizontal layers really provide the use cases everybody is expecting? Or will the world more be divided and conquered by vertical specialized models that always have to be adapted to specific company needs?
Mhm. I think it will be more of the latter. And let me unpack that in the way that you frame the question. These large language models will find great utility in the consumer segments. You and I will be able to make all forms of uh, entertaining engagement dynamics, some of which can be commercialized. They may be in the form of movies or shorts that we can leverage some of these tools to manage that through. Because of the amount of data, the availability of that data, and how that data can be accessed and utilized in these models and how they're trained, and then ultimately how they're utilized in some inference capacity on existing devices that we have or platforms that you and I use day to day for home use or knowledge or information around our lifestyles. With all that said, what most people need to understand is the one thing about enterprise software. If it was managed properly as a company, they typically have sovereignty and dominion around the data. And those data sets are unique in many cases in terms of the workflows, the actual data that I always say artisans out of them every single day. And if you manage those properly, the way we do it, managing our value creation team and the way we do our contract administration process, we have all these unique data sets that no one has access to. These large scale LLMs don't have access to these data sets. And in fact, if you want to leverage them, you actually have to have some LLM that references these data sets. You can call them in form of a vector database that then can deliver a set of outcomes that are and use cases that are actually applicable to the problem that's being discussed, okay, or the problem that's being addressed. Some cases it might be a simple thing as how do you manage a trouble ticket for a certain environment. In some cases it is how do you actually deliver a solution set to a customer base or to a customer that has a specific configuration in the way that they're utilizing their technology or the configuration in the way that their supply chain might work. Well, if that data doesn't exist in outside of those environments, and so you have to have again those data sets that have that data that can be utilized. And so how I got to the answer here is there will likely be a series of I'll call it vertical market, in many cases company models that are inference models that are utilizing specific data sets that have been developed over the last 20 and 30 years and that are owned by enterprise software companies. And so that's how we are utilizing our capabilities. Today, we own 86 enterprise software companies. And the ability to utilize those data sets to drive inference models on two areas in particular. I'll call one area is product development. How do we develop a product that we can now sell to our customers that enable them to be more productive, Gen AI enabled, or for them to enable their customers to become more productive. And so that's where a large portion of our efforts are being driven.